Hello, hi. Today we'll be looking at how to produce the findings from interview sessions. So I have many students who are doing their own uh, research, some individual research, and some of them are doing a group research. They ask me, Adit, how do I get the findings from our interview sessions? So I told them I will come up with a video and I will explain to them what are the 5 steps, and I will give the link to my students to watch. So there are 5 steps. There are 5 steps to produce the findings of an interview. Number 1, you have to create a table of codes. Number 2, you need to write the transcript. Number 3, fill the table of transcript. Number 4, word file on the codes. And number 5, link the codes with literature. I repeat. Number 1, create a table of codes. Write the transcript. Fill the table of codes. 4, create a word file on the codes. Number 5, link the codes and literature. So what I have done is I have taken interviews. What I did is I used my previous studies. I used my previous studies to come up with these 5 steps, and so you will be able to see what I did before. So the first one is create table of codes. What do I mean by table of codes? Common themes that reoccur during the interview session. Common themes that reoccur during the interview sessions. Now, after you develop your interview question guide, you have to predict what are the themes that will be discussed in the interview session based on my interview questions. So you have 5 or 6, you have a few interview questions that you want to ask. So you look at them and you say, what are the common themes that will emerge from these questions? Again, once you come up with the interview guide, create a table. Create this table before you actually conduct your interviews. For example, now, in my previous study, I looked at the English language communication of nurses and the accommodation strategies that they use. So, based on my interview question sheet, I created 7 to 8 themes. Now, for the purpose of this video, I am not going to show you all the themes because it's going to be confusing. So what I'll do is I'll show you the 3 common themes. Number 1, exposure to various English usage. Number 2, accommodative communication. And number 3 is general communication. So you can see here on the left, this is my themes. Exposure to various English. Then I create sub-themes. I divide it into 2 categories. Number 1, you have pronunciation and accent. Number 2, you have words. And then after that, I ask myself, okay, I want to be more specific. So under pronunciation and accent, I have nurses are able to understand the foreign patient's pronunciation patients are able to understand the nurse's foreign pronunciation. Nurses have problems understanding the patient's accent. Patients have problems understanding the nurse's accent. For words, I have nurses can understand the words. Patients can understand the words. Difficulty in understanding the words used by patient, difficulty in understanding the words used by nurses. So remember, this table, you create this table based on your interview question sheet, based on the questions that you will ask in your interview. Now, after you have done, after you have created your table, you then proceed to interviewing your participants. Now, I have to tell you this. When you interview someone, we need to practice secrecy. So we cannot identify, when we are conducting our interview, we cannot ask, we do ask personal questions, but we try to avoid questions that identifies the participant, like perhaps questions like, can you please tell me your name? Instead of saying, my name is Aditya, I'm this ... years old, my name is Adit, I'm working at blah blah blah, general description of the participant. And when we are actually transcribing, our interview, we cannot use the name. We have to put A and V. A refers to my name, V refers to the participant's name. So we need to take into consideration, if you are video recording our interviews, you have to tell your participant, look here, I'm going to interview, I'm going to record. So if you don't want your image to be in the recording, turn off the camera. Remember, all information regarding the participants must be kept to a minimum. We just want their information. We do not want their identity. We don't want to expose their identity, because the things that they say during the interview is between the researcher and the participant. Other people are not allowed to watch that video. But what you're allowed to do is you can transcribe the interview. So this is the transcript of my interview, one interview. For this particular study, I interviewed 5 nurses and 4 patients. So I transcribe word by word. My interview was audio recorded. So I listened to the interview a few times, many times, and I typed what I said and what the participants said. I played it over and over again because I want to look at the sentences. So that's why I played the recording many times. Now this will take you guys quite a long time, because you have to listen and listen and listen to the audio many times to get the wordings to get their sentences correct. You have to listen many, many times. This took me 5 hours because I had to stop and listen, stop, rewind and listen. We take out the and we just focus on the sentences, on the examples, on the description, explanation they give. So omit a wait, let me think. Omit that. Write the transcript. That's step number 2. All I can say is good luck. All I can say is good luck. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to show you all my transcript. I'm just going to show you one transcript. So you might ask me, what is these things? Why have I highlighted a few sentences in yellow? That's a good question. This highlighted part is very useful for step number 3. Step number 3 is you have to fill in the table of codes. Now, after you have transcribed everything, you need to look at your table. You have two. I do not know. This is my style. I have two monitors. I have my laptop monitor. I have the monitor on my laptop, and I have an external monitor. So in my external monitor, I have the table of codes. Step 1, I have the table of codes. In my laptop monitor, I have my transcript. So while I'm going through my transcript, I select codes. I select codes that are related to my table of codes. So again, this one over here, let me just zoom in. Yeah, because this is my own work, so I have to put the watermark. So let me just look at something easier, okay, easier to see. Okay, these are the exact quotes, these are the exact words that my participant have said in their interview. I look at the transcript. I look at the transcript. So what I did was I copied, I highlighted the sentence in yellow. I copied the sentence and I fill it up in my table of content, table of codes. Table of codes. So I did that for transcript 1. I looked at it. I selected the sentences that are related to my code. I copied and I paste it into the table of codes. The table of codes will be in my big monitor, external monitor, and my transcript is in my laptop, my laptop screen. So what I did was I copied, I highlight the sentence, into yellow. I copied and then I paste it in the table of codes. Now over here, MCENT1, this is a code referring to the participant. I did mention earlier that you are not allowed to use the name of the participant. So you give them code. For example, I interviewed the nurse. So instead of putting her full name, I gave her a code MC MC, ENT, nurse 1, MC, ENT, nurse 2, MC, ENT, nurse 3. I gave them codes instead of putting their names. I put in codes. So this is what I did. I copied the sentence from my transcript. I pasted it in my table of code, and I put in bracket who said it. Again, I put that N1 because she's nurse 1. I do not tell the name of the nurse 1. I do not reveal the name of my participant. I just put a code N1. So as soon as I put my code, I have my description. For example, here she said the exact thing she said. We are trying to communicate with them. They do not understand. Now, after you put that code quotation, after you put that code and you put the in bracket who said it, you have to write a description of it. So over here, I say nurses have difficulties in understanding the Japanese patient and they need translators and use Google Translator. So I write a description. Over here is the exact code, So I copy, I paste it into my table. Next, this is my identification. This is how I identify who said it. So this one here is the explanation. So I write this explanation based on the interview. Based on my interview, I explain what the nurse was trying to say. So this over here, this is the direct quote, what the person has said. This is the identification tag, how to identify, to show that this code was mentioned by nurse number 1. Again, we cannot put the name of the participant. We give them a code or a pseudonym. This is the pseudonym. This is the code. This part here is my description of what the nurse was trying to say. This description is based on my transcript. So I did that. I looked at all my transcript. I did that. Looked at all 9 of my transcript, and I put them in the table with the description. So I did the whole thing just because this is part of my work. I have to get the code. I have to get the code, link the code with the team, and provide a description of the code. That description is based on the interview, on the transcript. Do not come up with description. Do not pluck it out from air. You have to base it on your transcript. So step number 3, fill in the table of codes. If you notice, there are some sub-themes and codes that do not have any There are some themes and codes that do not have an extract because none of them mention the nurses are able to understand the foreign patient's pronunciation. None of them. If no one said it, do not put anything. Read the transcript. If someone did say it, put it under the quote. Put the extract, put the quotes under the theme, sub-theme, sub-sub-theme. Sub-sub-theme, I call it code. That's number 3. So I hope until this point you're not confused. Getting the results from an interview or a group interview, it can be really painful. Like I mentioned, I took 5 hours to do the transcript of one interview. I interviewed 9 people. Yeah, it's painful. After I did my transcript, I looked at the transcript and fill up the table of codes. I matched the quotation, whatever words the participant has said, I match it to my team, my sub-team, and my code. I provide a description based on the transcript. Yes, I know it's really difficult, but you do have to take your time. My advice is to be as patient as possible. Okay, so we'll move on to step number 4. Step number 4 is where you have to create a word file on codes. So I told my student, okay, in this table, you give me this table, I would not understand what you mean. If you give me this table does not have any meaning. So what you have to do is you have to create a word file. You have to create a word file. A, English language challenges. That's my team. My sub-team, English language challenges faced by Malaysian nurses. My sub-team, sub-team, pronunciation and accent. Now, you have to go back to your table. Again, these tables are all from different studies, so it's not the same. So go back to your table, copy the quotation, copy the extract. Make sure you also copy the extract, copy. Make sure the explanation is also there, you copy. And then you paste it. You copy and paste it. So you will have under pronunciation and accent, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 extract, 5 quotes. I have 2 paragraphs. One is on the nurses and one is on the patient. After I put my extract, I look at the description. I put the description before and after the quote, depending on the explanation, depending on the quote. My quote is the way we pronounce is different. Again, in bracket MCENT nurse N3, nurse number 3. I do not put her name. I put her code. Her tag. So in my description, again, it's from a table of content, a table of codes, which is based, the description is based on my transcript. Right there. Many of the foreign English speaking patients who visit the medical center have difficulty understanding the Malaysian English pronunciation description, again based on my transcript. One nurse stated one nurse stated that, my mistake, you have to check on it. One nurse stated that the way we, in bracket the nurse, pronounce is different, as put description, as the English words pronounced by Malaysian nurses are considered strange to many foreigners. So I put my code, and then after that my description I put before and after the code. Remember, the description must be based on your transcript, must be based on the conversation. Now, if during your interview, if you have noted down a few things, good, you can use that note, that you can use that whatever notes that you scribble down, you can put that into your description. But then you have to check on your transcript, does whatever I write, does it relate to the transcript? So this is step number 4. Step number 4 is where you put this table, put it in a Word file. Put it in a Word file. See, this is what I did. Yes, it took time to do this. It took time to do this, but we're not done yet. Step number 5 is where you have to link the codes and literature. Now this is a tough part, because you have to link whatever your respondents have said, link it up with literature. So over here you can see, according to the senior nurse, many nurses complain that they cannot understand what they, you have to be more specific, the foreign patient are saying about, in bracket, who said it. This is step number 4, my description and my code and my description. Now I have to link it with literature. So O'Neill 2011 study, O'Neill's study, mistake, O'Neill's 2011 study identified that ESL foreign nurses in South Australia did not understand the pronunciation of Australian patients. So you have to link it up. You have to link your findings with literature. For example, here, I give you one example. One of the nurses highlights that patients from Japan, Korea, and China, the nurse, do have problems. This is my code. This is my description. The nurse said a few incidents when they could not understand what the Japanese family members said about their grandmother, the ENT patient. Now I have to link literature with my findings. So medical healthcare providers often do not understand the words used by patients that they are not frequently exposed. HALP 2016. So I have to link the code, my findings, with my literature. I have to mention whether it's similar or different. Pak Saleh tu cannot faham us. The nurse speak very fast. So the findings is similar to Hamsley, who mentioned that the nurses do not have time to change their communication behavior. So I have to link it up with I have to link up my findings with the literature. That can be very challenging as well. So we are about to end the video. There are 5 steps to produce findings from an interview. Number 1, create a table. Number 2, write the transcript or the transcript. Number 3, fill the table of codes. Like I mentioned before, I have 2 monitors. My laptop monitor, it displays the transcript. My external monitor displays the table of codes. So as I read the table, as I read the transcript, I highlight what is similar, what falls into that category, what falls into that team category, that sub-team category. I highlight, I paste it in the table. See? Step 4 is where I create a Word file on the codes. So I'm a team, my sub-team, my codes, and the description. The description is based on the field notes you have as well as the transcript. So writing the transcript is very important. You have to listen word by word because the transcript provides the quotation, the extract, what the participant has said, and it also provides explanation for the quotes. So transcript is very important. You have to listen to your transcript many times. You have to look at the words that they use. No no wait let me think. Concentrate on the sentences. Concentrate on the explanation, on the details, on the examples. Step number 5, you have to link your findings with the literature. So that's it. That's the end of the video. So yeah, again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm sure my students will be watching this video and I'm sure they'll have a lot of questions. Please, students, contact me if you have any questions. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you. Bye-bye.